How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to Boylai Hobby Time. In this video, we're back in the wild imaginary west with a monster encounter and a creature that's scared me for almost my whole life. The larger resin cat was sent to me by my friend Owain, and the smaller cat was from an animal companion set that I picked up a while back. One of these is almost sized at 1:72 scale, and let's just say it's not the big one. But that's only stopped me once or twice in the past. The next step was to grab some 1:72 scale humans in more or less Western attire, which would be appropriate for the imaginary Western setting that this diorama is set in. Along with some IMEX and Italeri figures, I used some French Foreign Legion troops, which were gifted to me by the craftsman a while back, to make this little ragtag squad of mercenaries. We'll give them some backstory a little later in the video. I traced out the topography, and then I needed to grab some foam. And don't be startled when that arrives. The foam flew in a little more aggressively than I had anticipated, but the next step was to get these scraps to fit into the landscape that I had in my mind. I'm trying to get rid of as many of my leftover foam bits as I can before I buy more. I'm also anticipating a move to a new workspace, hopefully soon, so as many of these foam offcuts that I can get rid of, the better. Luckily, terrain pieces like this are the perfect excuse to use random foam offcuts. And speaking of offcuts, each of these larger offcuts will have smaller offcuts of their own. I've been a little more picky recently and changed the cutoff for the offcuts cut off my offcuts. After the general shape of the landscape had been established, I carved in the rocky texture using a Dremel and a vacuum to grab all the dust. And after the Dremel, I removed the little fibrous bits using a butane torch. I of course had a fan on, the window open, and was wearing a respirator the whole time I was doing this, because in the words of the gatekeeper at Bree, you can never be too careful. Although he was talking about orcs and strange folk, I think the general principle is applicable. The second layer of rocks is made from styrofoam rather than XPS, making it a lot messier. You also have to be a lot more gentle with the butane torch because styrofoam is far more persnickety and liable to catch on fire. And be sure to have the window open and good ventilation while you do this, even if it's allergy season and the pine pollen is going in your eyes. The last layer I wanted to be more of a steep hill than a cliff like the layer below it. Still definitely steep enough that you'd get massively injured if you were to fall down it. You would just hit more than air on the way down. With the top section done, I could then glue everything together using some foam-safe super glue and get everything ready to be patched up with some terrain paste. Broke out the old hobby mat from the beginning because it's time to get messy. And the first messy to get was Sculptamold. This will be the terrain paste I apply first, which I will use to give the upper sections a little bit more durability and some nicer rock texture. The little texture of all the styrofoam balls is still very much present on the styrofoam, and it would have been a lot more obvious after paint, which is why I covered it in Sculptamold. This will also lead to a much more to-scale texture in the end. That'll take some time to dry, but in the meantime, let's mix up our second terrain paste, consisting of plaster of Paris, Mod Podge, a little bit of water, and some acrylic paint. The purpose of this round of terrain paste is to protect and cover the remaining foam with something that won't hide all the nice detail, especially on that lower cliff face. While that was still wet, I sprinkled on some fine sand and sealed that with isopropyl alcohol and watered down white glue. Here you can see the capillary action of the isopropyl alcohol breaking the surface tension of the glue. Next, I threw some pebbles in the terrain mix and dropped those around the base in places that would make sense. And then finally, I added a few mid-sized pebbles, which I sealed in the same way that I did the sand. All the steps I just completed require dry time, so we'll leave that overnight and begin painting our minis. After getting them on some painting handles, I took them outside and I gave them a coat of primer. And I can already hear you now. Boylai, more like boy lied. If you primed them, why are they still all the same colors? And the answer is that I used an enamel matte clear coat, which I've found to be the best primer for painting this type of plastic. But if it makes you feel better, I'll do a second prime with an acrylic primer from the airbrush. I've had a really hard time getting paint to stick to these little minis. If I had $1 for every time someone told me it was mold release, I'd have a lot of dollars. But I've tried the methods like rinsing in warm soapy water, or isopropyl alcohol, or even flame annealing. But the method that I have found to get paint to stick to these the best has been just a clear coat of matte varnish first, followed by the acrylic primer. After said primer, I gave the big cat a base coat of rusty red, followed by some white on its tummy. Over top of that, I started applying fur colors, adding more and more yellow and white as I got closer to the top. I'm not actually sure what type of cat this is supposed to be, but I decided to make it a mountain lion, or a cougar. In the wild imaginary West, it's the golden cougar, and not to be confused with Cougar Gold, which is a cheddar cheese that is apparently all the rage in the cheese subreddit, at least according to one disgruntled user. After establishing the light volume on the muscles, I had to go back with a few filters to give the cat the coloration that I was after. And then the airbrushing was done, and I broke out the wet palette so I could get working on all the fine detail. I started with the big cat, and I will use a different method of painting for the small cat and the people. Like I said at the beginning, mountain lions are actually one of the first animals that I distinctly remember being terrified of. Dangerous animals were always a distant concept, you know? If you don't go find them, they won't find you. But after I heard that one had been seen in the yard of my sister's piano teacher, which was up in the foothills outside Denver, I had a recurring nightmare that one followed us home from piano lessons and waited for me outside the house. Anyway, after the cougar, I moved over to the people, and I painted them with contrast paints. And while I wrap up this diorama, I'll explain the backstory and context for lore purposes for the wild imaginary West. This little group of mercenaries, hired guns, were in Canyon City, and they heard that a mountain lion had been hunting people on the way to Cripple Creek, cutting off the southern route to the mine. That was obviously a big deal, costing a lot of people a lot of money. And these guys make their living off of dealing with situations like this. So they fired up their forestall and they made their way up the road. If you're not familiar with the wild imaginary West, a forestall is basically a device that allows you to track and deter monsters. It uses an imaginary frequency to do so, like a dog whistle. Don't overthink it. Anyway, a few hours into the hike, the forestall started to ping, and it let them know that a threat was nearby. The group went on full alert, and as they came around a bend, they saw the mountain lion. Certainly larger than normal, but hardly a threat that they couldn't take care of. We're honestly a little surprised that this had shut down traffic the way it had. Either way, it was gnawing on somebody's poor animal. And surprisingly, it didn't retreat. In fact, it was quite unmoved by the group as they made their way into range. They assumed maybe it was just too determined to finish its meal to be bothered. The group got into position and ready to fire when the guy running the forestall realized something was wrong. The forestall hadn't been set to detect smaller animals, and if it had been, it should have scared this thing away easily. Which meant that the forestall was not pinging because of the creature standing right in front of them. He only realized this a little late, just as a large shadow covered the sun from the ridge above them. After some dry, colored flocking and static grass, I threw on some appropriate foliage from Diorama Presepe. Tried to get the colors of the foliage and the rocks and the dirt accurate to that part of Colorado. After the terrain was done, I painted the exposed foam and the wooden base with black 3.0, also a gift from Owain. And of course, the last thing to do was to glue all of the figures in place. After this terrifying golden cougar had been glued on the ridge above its prey, I called it good. you're interested in experiencing more of the Wild Imaginary West and playing through a scenario like was shown in this video, definitely check out the Wild Imaginary West RPG that I put together with Rune Foundry. The link to that will be below. You can get the PDF version of the rulebook and a couple other digital downloads to get started playing right away. And later this summer, the physical products will be shipped out for all of our Kickstarter backers. We will have more for purchase as well. And I am so excited to actually get that into people's hands. Otherwise, that is it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Huge shout out, as always, to my patrons. You guys are the best. Have an awesome week, everyone. I'll see you next time.